Let's waste no time at all because I want to get straight into it with our next guest, comedian, commentator, stand-up philosopher, and freestyle rapper, Alex Stein. Alex, thank you so much for joining us here on the U.S. Report. Now, I've got so many crazy news stories I want to talk to you about. I don't know where to start, but I'm going to start with this one. And that's the news about activist Raquel Evita Saraswati, who has faked her Arab and Latin racial identity as far back as 2004 and has been involved in a lot of groups, including the Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Culture Officer of the Philadelphia-based American Friends Service Committee. Tell us about this story. And by the way, also, I want you to take this question on notice. How racist is America that nobody actually wants to be white? They're trying to be some other race that's supposedly discriminated against.
No, James, you just nailed it. Literally, they had to make it illegal because people were saying that they were a minority on their college exams to get into college. So by saying that you're a minority, it helped you get into college. So this is the first time somebody that was white or non-black pretended to be a different race. And she did what we call as brown face, which is disgusting. But this happened with Rachel Dolezal. Sadly, this is happening everywhere, James, because in America, you've been here, racism does exist, and we have this victimhood mentality where if you can be a victim by pretending to be a minority, people are doing it, and even when we catch them, they still believe the lie half the times, James.
But, I mean, Alex, what is this doing, though, to broader racial harmony and so on in America? Because, you know, I lived there from the time I was a kid in the 70s up until about 20 years ago. I go back every year, pretty much. And it feels to me like race relations really sort of got better and got better and got better. And then once all this victimhood stuff came in, it all went off a cliff because, of course, it just turns everybody against each other. Am I right on this? Is the left just making race relations worse in the U.S.?
100%. And I think the biggest glaring, change was when we started becoming so politically correct. You know this, James, in the 90s, everybody was pretty chill. Comedy was still allowed. But now that we've become so sensitive, we used to be desensitized, now we're ultra sensitive, and you nailed it. It causes us to be divided and not come together. Instead of all having a laugh and making fun of ourselves and being self-deprecating, we have this mentality like, if you get made fun of, I'm a victim. And now we have to be even Stevens, and we have to make this other person suffer. And you can see it a lot of times here, the big sports, big sports leagues, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, these kids will get drafted, and then they'll see a racist tweet that they did 10 years ago, and they try to cancel them, that moment right there, not even giving the person grace that they could have changed or they could have become a better human being. So this cancel culture, this victimhood culture, that is probably the biggest toxic issue that we have here in America, in my opinion.
That word you said there, Alex, grace, I think nails it, because wokeness is a religion without grace and without forgiveness. But, I mean, if anything's going to make all this worse, what about this story that the California Reparations Task Force is working, quote, hard on new proposals, including closing 10 state prisons, free college courses, planting trees in black neighborhoods to ensure something called shade equity. I haven't ever even heard this term in my life. Tell me, how is this going to solve the racial divide in America?
It's not, James. Listen, I got to be serious for a second. My family, we're in the bail bond business, so we are in charge of getting people out of jail. And the reason why that's a big issue in states like states like California and Los Angeles especially, they have bail reform, where the same form in America where you can get a free attorney, what's called a public defender now, because of social justice, you can sign that same form and say, I can't afford to get out of jail. And those same programs are now bailing out career criminals that their own family members wouldn't get them out of jail. Their own best friends wouldn't get them out of jail. But the state of California or the state of New York deems these criminals to be, since they are of a minority, that they deserve to get out literally for free. And because of that, in places like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, crime is skyrocketing. So none of these social justice programs actually help. I believe that they're actually designed to cause more confusion and actually destabilize America. And I know that's a conspiracy, but I truly don't believe that America is, heading in the right direction.
Yeah, no, look, I think you're right, and I think conspiracy is now just another word for coming attractions. But one thing I think that is absolutely fascinating, and I suspect you do too, is the way so much of the media in the U.S. has become woke and out of control. And I've been reading about a new book by a guy named Steve Krakauer called Uncovered, and it talks about how these newsrooms have become Maoist almost in the way they attack not just the subjects, but also anyone on the inside who doesn't toe the line. I mean, how much of a responsibility does the woke media now have in the U.S. for tearing the country apart?
James, you know this. The media really bears probably the majority of the responsibility because the media is the main tool that propagandizes the society. So it's like this woke culture. It only takes a few powerful people at these media companies to basically indoctrinate the youth. And I was talking to a famous actor, the guy, Kevin Sorbo's, who played Hercules. Now, if you're considered a conservative, it used to be a long time ago, people would be persecuted if they came out of the closet as a homosexual. Now you get persecuted if you come out of the closet as a conservative. So if you can't be a conservative in Hollywood, then we know our media is going to be biased.
Now, Alex, before we let you go, I want to show you clips from a teacher in Arizona at a Senate Education Committee there in Arizona talking about recent book bans. Now, she's quite upset. Have a look at this.
I have a master's degree because when I got certified, I was told I had to have a master's degree to be an Arizona certified teacher. We all have advanced degrees. What do the parents have? Are we vetting the backgrounds of our parents? Are we allowing the parents to choose the curriculum and the books that our children are going to read?
Now, for a minute there, Alex, I thought that was just another one of your really good costumes that you put on for council meetings. But there's a serious point here that these lefty teachers, they think that unless you've got a teacher's qualification and a master's degree, you have no right to teach your kids or parent your kids.
No, James, I believe we had over 2 million new homeschool students this past year, at least from the pandemic alone. So listen, if I was a parent right now that had a child in school, I'd be very careful in the United States because these public school teachers are not only encouraging kids with the gender ideology, subliminal programming, but they're also doing it behind the parents' backs because these teachers think they know better than the actual kids' parents. So that is really not a conspiracy. That is true. These teachers feel emboldened to tell their own parents, I'm saying the own kids of a parent that they know better than a parent. And that, to me, is disgusting.
The whole thing, man, it's the whole left program. It's not your money, it's their money. It's not your kids, it's their kids. Alex Stein, that's all the time we've got for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.